Ace Frehley, founding guitarist of Kiss and the legendary Spaceman, is gone, and the rock world is reeling. On October 16th, 2025, at age 74, he passed away in Morristown, New Jersey, following complications from a fall that led to a brain bleed. In his final hours, he was surrounded by family. His passing was confirmed in a statement that described his death as epic in magnitude, heartbreaking, and beyond comprehension. His family wrote that, in his last moments, we were fortunate enough to have been able to surround him with loving, caring, peaceful words, thoughts, prayers, and intentions as he left this earth. We cherish all of his finest memories, his laughter, and celebrate his strengths and kindness that he bestowed upon others. They called the magnitude of his passing epic and said his memory will live on forever. To grasp the weight of his loss, we must go back to his beginnings. Born Paul Daniel Frehley on April 27, 1951 in the Bronx, New York, Ace grew up in a turbulent environment. He was expelled from multiple high schools, dropped out, and at one point hung with street gangs, but music saved him. He started playing guitar around age 13, inspired by rock pioneers and the raw energy of the 60s. Friends later nicknamed him Ace, believing he had a kind of natural charisma with people, especially in his ability to connect. In the early 1970s, after playing in a series of local bands, Ace responded to an ad placed by Paul Stanley seeking a guitarist. In 1973, he joined forces with Stanley, Gene Simmons, and Peter Criss to form Kiss. From day one, he brought tone, drama, and attitude. He also co-designed the Kiss lightning bolt logo, helping crystallize the visual identity that would define the band as much as the music. Kiss's theatrical show, platform boots, smoking guitars, explosions, face paint, was not mere gimmick. It was marketing and myth-making wrapped in guitar riffs, and Ace's role was central. His persona, the Spaceman, with silver star makeup framing his eyes, fostered the idea that these men were characters, that rock could be cosmic, larger than life. His solos would sometimes set fire, his guitar necks would emit smoke, lights would swirl. It was spectacle and musicianship intertwined. Between 1974 and 1981, Ace played on Kiss's key early albums: Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, Alive, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, Dynasty, Unmasked. Every one of those records features his tone. Lean, vibrato-rich, daring. He also contributed songs like Cold Gin, Shock Me, Rocket Ride. He pushed boundaries, refused to settle into a backup guitarist role, and consistently made his playing distinct. In 1978, each member released a solo album in parallel, and Ace's was the most commercially successful. His version of New York Groove, a cover, became a hit in its own right, and the album established him as more than just that guy from Kiss. His solo work allowed him freedom and granted him a fanbase independent of the mask. But fame and creativity always intersected with personal struggle. By the early 1980s, tensions over money, creative control, substance abuse, and direction tore at Kiss. In 1982, Ace left the band. He embarked on solo efforts and in 1984 formed Frehley's Comet. That band, with members like Anton Fig and John Regan, released albums in the mid-80s and toured, carving its own niche. The albums blended classic rock, swagger, and Ace's trademark touches. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, Ace released albums, battled in the media with former bandmates, and continued to evolve. In 1996, the original Kiss lineup reunited and Ace returned for a reunion tour. That reunion lasted until about 2002, culminating in an album called Pico Circus. Within that album, Ace's substantive contributions were limited. One track, Into the Void, is often cited as a moment of real reunion among the original four. Still, his presence added legitimacy and nostalgia to the reunion. After that, he resumed his solo path, recording albums, touring, and reconnecting with fans. But let's fast forward to recent years. In February 2024, Ace released 10,000 Volts, his first full album of original material since 2018's Spaceman. It was a bold move, a statement that he still had stories to tell, still had guitar lines to blaze. The album charted, drew attention, and reminded fans that Ace was not a relic, he was still active. He also indicated he would work on Origins Volume 3, a continuation of his covers and tribute series. In 2025, early signs of trouble emerged. He started canceling performances, citing illness or medical issues. On September 25th, his team announced he had suffered a minor fall in his studio, forcing him to cancel a scheduled show in Lancaster, California. The announcement said he was fine, but that doctors insisted he refrain from travel for now. Over the next days and weeks, his condition grew more serious. On October 6th, he canceled the remainder of his 2025 tour, saying ongoing medical issues prevented him from moving forward. Then reports broke. He had been hospitalized with a brain bleed following the fall. He was placed on life support, on a ventilator. TMZ and others claimed his family was discussing turning off life support. In those surreal, tense days, rumors of his death swirled prematurely online. But finally, on October 16th, his family confirmed that he had died. They disclosed that he had passed away peacefully, surrounded by those he loved. In the wake of his death, tributes came flooding in. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley released a joint statement calling Ace an irreplaceable rock soldier. They said they were utterly devastated, sending condolences to his wife Jeanette and his daughter Monique. Gene and Paul have had fraught relationships with Ace over the decades. Creative tensions, lawsuits, public spats, yet in death, they leaned into shared memory, reminding fans that without Ace, the Kiss story would be incomplete. Musicians far and wide paid tribute. Bret Michaels posted of Ace's influence on rock and youth. Mike McCready of Pearl Jam called his solos timeless. Others remarked that when you turned on a Kiss record in the 70s, you could hear Ace immediately, his voice in the strings. Social media lit up with video clips. Ace dropping to his knees in solos, torching strings, stepping back, arms raised. Fans left candles and guitar picks in front of venues, at memorial walls, outside studios. The public reaction has been raw. Many fans said they received the news with tears. Many said they would go back and listen to every solo Ace ever played. Some recalled the first time I heard Ace stories. A kid in a garage turning up the volume, playing along, feeling bigger than life. In a day and age when joints, endorsements, and algorithms dominate, Ace's legacy feels tactile. These are records people held, performances people witnessed. His personal life: Ace married Jeanette Treratola on May 1, 1976. They had a daughter, Monique, born July 6, 1980. Monique appeared periodically in public with him, a reminder of his life offstage, his family ties. He also had a longtime manager, John Ostrowski, who in interviews described Ace as generous, a mentor. Ostrowski once said, "Since 1976, Space Ace has been my Superman. His kindness, caring, and inclination to mentor was at the forefront until very end." He is survived by Jeanette and Monique. In death, the tensions and feuds that marked chapters of his career seem to fade into the background, replaced by memory, by music, by the force of a guitarist who inspired thousands. Let's pause to consider. Ace Frehley was more than a cog in Kiss's machine. He was an architect of their sound, a co-author of their myth. Without his tone or persona, Kiss would be unrecognizable. His solo work confirmed that he was not just a mask, he was a creative force. His influence rippled into heavy metal, hard rock, Glendale Players, Garage Kids. His death also marks a turning point. Ace is now the first founding member of Kiss to die. Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Peter Criss remain. The symbolic weight of that is immense. In many accounts, Ace's fall and death came just as he was preparing or planning new work. The tour cancellations and medical decline arrived at a time when fans expected him to continue. That abruptness reinforces how fragile even legends can be. Moreover, Kiss itself has shifted. In recent years, the band declared that it would no longer tour live in the traditional sense, instead moving toward digital avatars for future performances beginning around 2027. The band was honored among 2025 Kennedy Center honorees, even as Ace's health was being questioned. The world was shifting, rock was adapting, but Ace remained an anchor to the old school, to sweat, amplification, live strings, and face paint. In the months ahead, expect more tributes, radio specials, tribute concerts, playlists, documentaries, retrospective books. I expect Ace's back catalog, solo and Kiss, will surge in streams. New listeners will discover Destroyer, Love Gun, 10,000 Volts. Guitar teachers will dissect his bends, vibrato, phrasing. Documentarians will revisit his falling out with Kiss, his solo journey, his highs and lows. His legacy is complex. There were feuds, departures, substance troubles, estrangements, but the outpouring so far suggests that what endures is his music. In death, those who once argued may now only be remembered for what they built together.